So, welcome everybody to the interactive virtual craft fair held from the 23rd to Sunday, the 28th of March 2021. The online fair is a great mix of exhibitor live sessions, workshops, demonstrations, live chat with our artists, but also a way for you to buy direct from our makers over on our website, interact.handmadeinbritain.co.uk. My name is Alice and I'm a part of the Handmade in Britain team, and it's my pleasure to say that we are joined by jeweller Barbara Yarde today, who's going to be walking through some of our pieces. So without further ado, Barbara, it's lovely to see you. Welcome to the online interactive virtual craft fair. It's great to see you this afternoon.
Hello, Alice, and hello, everybody who's joined us.
So for anyone who's joining us who hasn't seen any of your work, what's the best way to describe your practice and some of your pieces?
My pieces, especially now, are moving towards using lots of gemstones, precious gemstones and semi-precious gemstones. And I do like, when I'm making, to have texturized pieces. So whether it be the band, whether it be the way I set my stones, and I do like to mix my metals as well.
Wonderful, because you do a really lovely mix actually of pieces that I've seen, because you obviously like to use some stones and also like to use kind of silver, and then I think a lot of us are familiar about that you like to use little touches of gold, which are wonderful. Do you have any pieces actually that you'd like to run through with us, which we can actually find online?
So these are the ones you can actually see online at the moment. So this one, which I have, I'll hold that up to the camera. I think it's called part of my Dali collection. And I called it my Dali collection because a few years ago, I went to India, and I must admit, India was never on my radar to go to, but it's the best place in the world. I would go back in a heartbeat. And a lot of the patterns and the geometric patterns, the colors, everything was just so bright and vibrant. And this ring that you can see here, which has a pear aquamarine stone with a gold setting, and the band is a thick band with slight texturizing on it. It just reminds me of India and the feel of India.
It's a beautiful piece, and you've got that wonderful aquamarine in there, but actually you've got that lovely texture on the band. And of course today, we're going to be talking about texture and contour, in jewellery, but particularly, in your collection as well. So that's a really lovely piece to start off with, because of course you're using texture in there. How important is texture to you, and where do you kind of get the inspiration for some of those textures that you use on the pieces?
I always liked using textures because I started off doing a foundation course, and of course, if people know what a foundation course is, you look at all sorts of different types of art medium. So when we had to do photography, I'd be the one out on Wimbledon Common taking pictures of bark and butterflies and things just to get the texture. And I've kind of kept up with that sort of feel. So I do like just looking up and looking at the buildings, especially in London. There are just so many fantastic buildings, old churches with brilliant texture running through them. Some places in the West End where little nooks and crannies where you can see the texture of the walls and the buildings. It's great.
Right, so it's not just kind of nature, it's actually architecture as well.
There's architecture as well. Even some of the modern things. The Yarde is a great building to go and have. That's absolutely lovely building.
Yeah, actually going back to the ring, because you've got that really lovely kind of very structured setting, very straight, and then suddenly the actual band is then quite rugged. So I can see you've got that kind of natural, and you've got that architectural just playing in one piece.
Yes, I just love the flow, the way it's kind of really nice and neat and sharp. And then you've got all that texture and the ruggedness going through. I just think they sit really nicely together. Then you've got all the colours. So you've got your silver, you've got your gold, and you've also got your aquamarine there. I'm not sure if everybody can see that properly. Just bring it a bit closer to the camera.
Just pop it the other way. So you know we're on one side of the screen. Pop it on the other
Yes.
side too. Just
Everyone.
Just off there. Oh, there it goes. It's gone for his walk there.
It just disappeared on me. So if I hold it, I think everybody can see if I hold it that way. So you can see the texture of the band. And then if I slowly just bring it around, you can see the aquamarine and the gold.
Yeah, we can just see that little bit. Now it's not just rings that we know you for. What are some of the other pieces that we can have a look at today?
So I've got earrings as well. And again, I've kept my same texture theme on the earrings. And these are a 9-carat gold, and they're a half hoop. And I must admit, I do like a half hoop just because it always reminds me of summer. And just the texture. These are a sort of hoop that you can wear every single day, or you can just keep for kind of out and just for like special occasions. But the texture is very similar to the texture on my bands. But as it's much a smaller width, I've been able just to kind of pull out the texture a little bit more, and it just looks a little bit more rugged.
Now you can definitely see that it actually feels more. It actually looks a lot thicker than it actually is because you put so much texture. Is that because we're looking at lots of shadows and lots of kind of, you know, where you've really textured that metal? But it's not. They're not going to be heavy, though, are they?
No, these aren't heavy earrings at all. The rings aren't heavy, the earrings aren't heavy. And I think I always make my jewelry so it looks very weighty, but it's not very weighty, because I know personally that I don't like wearing heavy jewelry. If I have a heavy piece of jewelry, it won't be worn very often. So I want things that are going to be comfortable, things that are easy to put on and easy to take off, not complicated clasps or hard things that are hard to pull off, or earrings that are hard to take off.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think that resonates with quite a lot of people. I love a good earring, but if it's too heavy, it defeats the object, because you want to love it. And you just look at them and you go, they're far too heavy. They hurt after an hour, and you can't enjoy them. And of course, having, you know, a piece of jewelry is like having, you know, something that you go to because it reminds you of something. So it's lovely actually to hear that your pair of earrings that you've got immediately remind you of summer. And I can see that. I can see the gold. I can see the half hoop. So that's something that you equate with your earrings. So then for someone to buy them and then for them to be, you know, too heavy or too weighty, no, total agreement. Now I think that's a really great point, Barbara. So what else can we see in the collection?
So I have another ring here. And again, I'm talking about my texture and also about the contour, because I use a lot of gemstones in my rings. And again, that's all from my trip to India. We went to a gem dealer, our gem wholesaler, and it was like being in a sweet shop. It was from floor to ceiling, rubies, sapphires, diamonds. And I thought, oh, I've come home. This is where I want to be. So I love using a lot of large gemstones, and I don't set them in the traditional way. So when I say the traditional way, I mean setting them so the table, which is the flat part of your gemstone, facing upwards. I do like to set them sometimes having the cullet, which is the triangle bit of your stone, coming upwards, because sometimes you just get so much more facets on that. And this ring, which is my tourmaline, and blue spinel, both of these have been set with the cullet poking up, just because the facets on them are just really, really nice and really bright. And especially on a nice day, you just see such bright, glittering colours on them. And again, they've both been set in sterling silver band with a gold bezel on both.
Now, anybody who's not familiar with what a facet is, what is a facet, Barbara?
A facet is, so when I'll describe it best in a diamond, actually. When you see a diamond and it twinkles, that is faceted. So a diamond normally a round diamond will have about 58 facets. And the more facets you have, the more your diamond will twinkle. So that goes for any stone. So the more cuts or facets that your stone has, the more it will twinkle. And if you get a really, really good stone cutter, you can have an absolutely fantastic diamond or gemstone, basically.
So does that mean then, if we have one of your pieces, if we run our finger over the top of one of your stones, can we feel those facets because of the way that you've set it?
You can, especially if I've set my facets so the cullet, which is the triangle bit, so the pavilion and the cullet are poking up. That means you can run your finger over it and you can feel all the facets on there.
Oh gosh, I think I have to get my hands on to try and feel it. But I must say, those two colours really complemented each other. Actually, I'm particularly drawn to the green. But do you think about, the colours that sit together? Is it perhaps something you prefer seeing those colours, or actually it's the stones that you've got in front of you that actually determine the setting and the colour combinations that you're going to have?
It's actually a bit of both, because sometimes I might start out thinking, oh, I'm going to go for all blues. But then when I put the stones together and I've put them next to the gold and I'll put them next to the silver, it's a bit like, oh, actually, this colour works better with this stone, and especially as well with the shapes. So sometimes if it's depending on the shape, one shape might work better with another shape, but the colours might be completely, what we think sometimes a colour doesn't go, like an orange and I don't know, a green, but then you put the stones together, they just work, especially when you put them in the settings and the different shapes.
Do you think it kind of comes with time that you can kind of feel very confident to even attempt to put those colours together? Or do you just find, actually, no, I've got those colours, I've got those stones, I've got those shapes even together, and I'm going to work with what I've got? How bold, Barbara, are you in some of your choices?
I must admit, at the beginning, I was very safe. I'd be that person who just put all the greens together, or I'd only use round stones. But now I think to myself, just go big or go home. Go big and bold or go home. So I will go for the largest colour, the brightest colour. One of my favourite stones is a ruby, and I just love, love, love a ruby. So I'll use a ruby with pinks around it, with greens around it, with orange stones around it.
Gosh, so really kind of the bolder the better, really, yes, for you at kind of this stage. So what other pieces can we see from you?
Well, my last piece that I've got to show you here is a necklace. And again, this necklace I've set, it's natural tourmaline, and I've set it so the cullet and the pavilion are poking up. So you can just see it there. And I just thought the facets on that one were just really, really great. And the way it just sits in the necklace, and I also like the fact with my necklaces that I'll put an oxidized black chain on, and I just think it makes the stone it highlights the stone just that little bit more in the setting. And I'll always normally have if I flip it over, I'll usually have a silver back. So it'll be a silver back, a gold front, and a black oxidized chain on there. And I just think that, and it also has a slight kind of dark vibe to it, especially when you see the oxidized chain very close up. It just really highlights the gemstone.
That's a beautiful stone. It's very subtle. When you're showing it to me, it's very subtle. But then kind of you've pointed then to that oxidized chain. And I wouldn't think it was oxidized. I was thinking it's a very kind of dark silver, you know, kind of more like a burnished. But actually it's very, very subtle. And I think it works. You can see it very subtly working together on there. I don't know anyone else who kind of uses oxidized. It's kind of, you know, is it silver, is it gold? So that's a wonderful element, you know, to have, you know, within it. And of course, it's that very subtle color. And is this one? This is with the facets again facing outwards.
Yes. So again, on this one, if you can see it, let me pull it back. The facets are all facing outwards on this one. If I put it to the side, you can actually see the facets are quite far out on there. The pavilion sticks out quite a lot on there. And I just think that just makes it look quite bold.
I actually think all of your pieces, I don't think this is even a phrase, but subtly bold. It's like they're very subtle, but they make an impact. I can see they're not obtrusive, but I can see that you're wearing it. But they, you know, it's not large, it's not kind of overpowering. It's just with the extra thickness or the extra texture that you've added. And of course, that goes straight through, you know, into the facets and turning the stone over. You know, the marriage of those kind of three things together, you know, are wonderful. You know, how long have you been a jeweler for, Barbara? And have you seen your practice kind of change from when you started to kind of where you are now?
I've been a jeweler now for, I'd say, full time for about 5 years now. And I think my practice has changed. I think I was a bit hesitant to do anything really as bold as I'm doing now. And even with some of the work I'm doing, especially with private commissions, the work has gotten bolder. And I think I've kind of moved into that with more, and I've gained more confidence, and I've just moved into that. It's a bit like this necklace I have here, which is actually it's a pear-shaped sapphire, and it's a pear-shaped tourmaline with a tourmaline on the side. I've made that for somebody and they wanted rubies and diamonds. And before I would not have said this sort of thing would suit you. So now I've said to her, that suits you. And she's like, yes, that's my style. It's nice and big and bold.
Do you ever get sad seeing a piece go? You know, either a piece that you've made or certainly commissioned, you know, do you kind of in some ways, is it nice to kind of pass it on and see and hear people, you know, that have you know, put their own memories onto that piece of work, but are actually enjoying it and want to come back and buy something else, you know, from you?
I must admit, I'm never sad to see it go. It's just so nice that somebody's picked you. Somebody said, Barbara, can you make me a piece? And they have that faith in you that you will execute their idea and their vision. So it's always really nice when you hand that piece over and that person has a big smile on their face and you think, yeah, that I've done my bit.
Oh, it just sounds wonderful. It really kind of sounds, it's so nice to see you so joyous about it, because I think there'll be many.
I think there'll be a nice feeling.
I think there'll be so many. Sorry, Barbara. I think there'll be so many different answers to that question if I was to ask that to others. But it's so nice because as you're talking to me, you've got this huge smile on your face. So it's really wonderful that you do generally mean it.
Yeah, you know, it is. It's the loveliest piece when somebody says to you, "Can you make me a piece?" and they walk away happy. That's the nicest feeling. That's one of the reasons why I make jewellery. I love sitting at the bench. I just love making. It's the nicest feeling in the world. And I feel so lucky and privileged that I get to do this on a daily basis.
So talking about actually working at the bench, how do you like to work at the bench? Now, do you like to work in silence? Do you like to have the radio on? What's kind of what's your working environment, or how do you like to work, in the studio?
I like to work not in silence, but I'll normally have background music, or I'll have a podcast on, or something. And my studio is really good because on both sides we have one's a stone carver, another guy's a silversmith, and they have some really strange music. So sometimes you don't have to have any music. You'll get opera, or you'll get a bit of Metallica coming through, and that'll be your music for the day. So there's always some sort of, I don't think I would like just sitting totally in silence. There's got to be some sort of
kind of something going on. So it sounds like you're in a really kind of eclectic mix of a studio. Is that important to have people, around you, different disciplines or the same discipline? And how hard has the last year, if you've not had access to that?
I must admit, it's been really nice. It's always been really nice where I am, because we do have an eclectic mix. We have knife carvers, we have ceramicists, and also I've been incredibly lucky. Throughout the pandemic, my studio has been opened. We didn't close. We were open the whole time, so we could go in and continue working. And again, it's another privilege that I was able to carry on doing that. So nothing really changed for me in that respect.
So does that mean you've got loads and loads and loads of new pieces, Barbara?
I've been doing a lot of drawings actually, and test pieces. So some of them I've thought, yeah, great. Some of them I've thought, maybe I'll put those aside and they might come out next time. But this has been a big tester session for me, which has been really good.
Yeah, no, we've really enjoyed, the collection. And also, I should mention to everyone who is watching as well, that Barbara has got a piece in our auction as well. You've got a lovely pair of earrings. Do you have those to hand? Because it'd be lovely just to have a final look at those pieces.
I do. So these earrings can't really see brilliantly here, but they're actually topaz, and they've got, I've inlaid the base of them with 18 karat gold, and there's 4 tiny blue sapphires on them. So the gold just highlights, every time you move your head when you're wearing the earrings, the gold really kind of pops out at you. And then again, these aren't, even though these look chunky, they're not a weighty pair of earrings either. They feel really, really nice to wear, and they're kind of like an everyday earring if you like that bold look, because they do come up quite large. There are 10 millimeters by 5 millimeter stone.
You've got quite a substantial stone in there. It's really pretty, actually. Yes. Those 2 stones on each of the corner. To me, it feels like they elongate them. So I could either wear them straight, or I can, kind of turn it and really kind of move up the side of the ear. They're beautiful, and I can see those stones as well. I think they're lovely. Actually, I think they're really lovely, but I think they're a really nice kind of compliment. To the collection that we've seen from you,
yes, thank you.
This afternoon. But I can certainly, going back to, right at the start, I can really see the architectural, again, with those lovely straight edges that you have and those very smooth, settings, and then that beautiful texture where you've done it, on the ring band, on the earrings. As well. So it's actually lovely to hear a little bit more about your kind of influences and how it's kind of drawn together to the collection that we see, but not forgetting your travels, because that's very important.
I think my travel to India was the first place where I had that aha moment. I thought, yes.
Goodness. Goodness me. Well, I'm really excited, to see where the collection goes, from here. And unfortunately, Barbara, we're coming to the end of our time together, which is such a shame because I could keep talking and interrogating you. But before we leave, what's kind of next for you? Do you have some new pieces that you're working on, or do you have, something that you're working towards, for the rest of the year?
Most of the pieces I'm working on are actually commissions. Just during lockdown, I think people have a lot of time to think, and they thought, oh, let me get this done or that done. So and it's been mainly quite a few engagement rings as well. Even though no one's getting married, I think everybody's just still getting engaged.
Oh, that's really lovely. Yeah, kind of. Well, that's nice. But again, it's kind of, look at that big beaming smile. It's like people are coming to you because they're going to produce a really lovely engagement ring, or togetherness ring. So I think that's lovely, to have, and to kind of put them in their little box and off they go with a big Barbara smile. So once again, Barbara, thank you so much for your time. It feels like it's gone in the blink of an eye, but it's been so nice to see, those pieces which you can find. So once again, Barbara, thank you so much for your time this afternoon, and thank you everyone who's joined us on Zoom and on Facebook.